Okay, U.S. Congress this week passed a historic legislation that will provide unprecedented levels of funding to peacebuilding and coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians. The Nita M. Lowey Middle East Partnership for Peace Act is the result of over a decade of advocacy by the Alliance for Middle East Peace. The funding includes $250 million over 5 years. Now, for more on that and other Middle East stories, let's go live to Kevin Rachlin. He's the U.S. Director of the Alliance for Middle East Peace. Thank you, Kevin, so much for joining us.
Happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Sure. So tell me about this new funding. Why did it take so long to achieve? And what exactly kind of projects will this go towards?
So the new funding, the Nita M. Lowey Partnership for Peace Act, the Middle East Partnership for Peace Act, has been a 10-year endeavor of the Alliance for Middle East Peace. When we were founded in 2006, we had this idea, looking at the field in Israel and in Palestine, of all these peace builders out there operating independently, but in small chunks, that they weren't able to really bring transformative change to the Israeli-Palestinian population. And how do you do that? And so we started looking around on other models to really examine what worked in the past. And we came on this idea of the International Fund for Israeli-Palestinian Peace, which is modeled off of the International Fund for Ireland, which was in 1986. So we spent 10 years trying to convince Congress that this was a really good idea. And we started out, very small, getting through that idea that peace building is essential, that it is critical to making peace, that you have to build from the ground up using the grassroots. And eventually we started getting support. We started out with, Joe Crowley from New York, and eventually, Congressman Jeff Fortenberry from Nebraska took it and spearheaded it on. And he's a Republican, and partnered with Ms. Lowey, who is now retiring from New York. And the two of them really brought that to a head in 2018 when they introduced the first version of the bill, the Palestinian Peace Act, and then in 2019 when they introduced the last version, the Partnership for Peace Act. So it's really an exciting moment. This has been a long-term endeavor of ALMEP, and I think just to give some context of what this does, it's $50 million a year for 5 years. And just to give you some context of how much money is being spent on peace building in Israel and in Palestine right now by the United States, last year in the fiscal year 19 budget, only $5 million was spent in Israel and Palestine when it came to peace building activities. This would bring unprecedented resources to the region to do not only the peace building and reconciliation work that needs to be occurring, but also economic development in the West Bank and Gaza for Palestinians.
Okay, let's zoom out on the Middle East for a second. We just spoke about the new deal with Morocco. Now we're hearing about Indonesia. Might they be the next and perhaps last country to join the Abraham Accords?
So this is interesting because, Indonesia is the most populous Muslim country in the world. And it would make sense that the Trump administration would want to do this. I think the real concern is that this is an outgoing administration and that they are offering billions of dollars to normalize relationships and to create a relationship with Israel. And there isn't an indication from the Biden administration whether or not they would move forward with this or not. I think it would behoove folks to take a step back and in Indonesia to kind of see what will President-elect Biden say around this type of initiative. But I know there's an uncomfortability right now on Capitol Hill regarding this type of deal, because it does seem to be using the DFC to incentivize political developments versus development initiatives.
Sure. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens, of course, when the Biden administration takes the White House. Kevin Rachlin, thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.